Here. Some homework.
Chairman, we're live.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Today is February 28th. This is our afternoon session. Next on our agenda, we have a presentation from our PR person, Mackenzie Kramer. Mackenzie, please come to the mic so the folks can hear you. And just want to say what a great job you've done for us.
Well, thank you. It's been a while. It's nice to be seen in person, you know? I sit behind a computer screen. So part of this was just trying to find information flow because there's so much going on at all times in so many different departments. We thought it might be a good idea for me to just come once a month and specifically around the time when you guys do your updates on your different committees and boards also, just so that I get kind of a quick view of what you guys, do. I know I'm not here in person a lot, but I do either watch live or review your YouTube videos. So those are actually quite helpful. Dave and I were chatting just a little bit before we started. One thing that we thought might be helpful is one of two things. One, to put a clock that's readable from the camera. This little digital guy down here is a little hard to see. You can't see it on the recording, so that you can follow an agenda, because you guys are good with sticking with timeframes on an agenda, so people can like jump right to an agenda item if they want to, or we could take a review of the videos. Typically, I mean, there could be 3, 4, 5 for any given commissioner meeting day, just as you guys come in and out of sessions, or if there's a big break, you guys usually leave and then come back. Compiling all those into playlists. I think Tamara might have been doing that already. And then putting either on social media or on like the first video, kind of a quick, like, at this time in this video, corresponds to this agenda item, just to make it really easy for the public to be able to see that, find what they want. Helpful for me, but also helpful for, I think, maybe just public meeting, and public transparency, if they want to be able to find agenda items and correlate that with a video quickly. So either or, the easiest would be the clock, to be honest.
We could get another clock like that and put it on the front wall on this.
Yep. Just right front and center.
I actually looked at this during lunch because I was talking to Max and he said the same thing.
Okay.
I was thinking, like, if we had just something that was hanging right next to the camera up there, where the camera is in the back now, you could have another little small digital camera, clock or something just hanging in the screen, but it wouldn't obstruct the field of view or anything. You'd be able to see it kind of up in the upper right-hand corner or something.
There's no way to build that into a YouTube video now?
I don't think there
Like
is.
a little clock
Not on the
in the corner of
YouTube
the
side. You'd have to do it, yeah.
But it would be nice to have a bigger clock for those of us in the audience. I can hardly see that.
Yeah. The one thing to note, I don't know if you guys have watched the videos, but if you do include like a Zoom, like it was last week, Sherry, you were on Zoom, you show up in the top right corner. So the clock would need to be maybe top left if you're going to do that, or just in the field of view, like down here. But just one way to keep it simple for people to be able to scroll quickly on what they're finding. So
when you're on there, can you hear most of what's happening in the room? That's my concern, is we still don't have good audio.
I think the audio is much better. It's nice when people come here. When you guys do have work sessions up here or people are on the table, for the most part, it's good. I've noticed, like with road advisory board meetings and stuff like that, there's something about the middle of the table. Sometimes it's hard to hear like one person. And so it's always a little tricky with that. But as long as people don't whisper, you can pretty much turn up the volume and hear people. So as long as people are up in this general area when they're speaking, I think that it's been working pretty well. I haven't really seen any trouble.
Last week, Dave took this middle one when Sherry wasn't here and put it down on that table. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something we could do pretty easy here.
Yeah. That worked really well.
That worked good?
Yep.
So we'll just have to remember, if we're having a big table discussion, to move 2 or 3 of these mics down
And
there.
move them down. Yep. I think that's perfect.
And we can buy a battery-operated clock to mount to the front of this, a big one.
It would have to be big. I looked at it, like I said, and you can't even tell there's a clock sitting there. I mean, it would have to be, because it's so far back.
It is kind of far.
On the back of my computer here.
just
Maybe
right
we
there.
should put Pat in charge of that.
Or Scott.
I mean, the other
That's the
place
thing
we
for
could,
Scott. I just
the other place we could do it, and we talked about it today. I need to measure that. I forgot my tape measure. Does anyone have a tape measure? We need a new seal, but we could also rearrange that. So maybe there's a big clock right above the seal, and then the seal is there. And because you could definitely see that. That's the first thing you see on any video, so you couldn't miss it. So,
Take a clock out of the seal.
yeah. I mean, even it doesn't even have to be a digital clock, like a regular clock.
Yeah.
You can tell the time. So that could work too.
I don't know. I think there are people that can't read those anymore.
I know. That's true. New skill. It's like cursive, right? I don't know if they teach that anymore.
Anywhere, I mean,
There's no plug to plug anything in.
no, we could just do a battery though.
Battery operated. It's a thought.
Just a
So-
thought.
Just a thought. So the one thing I sort of take notes as I go about, I guess there's kind of a couple things. Number one is I've been working on a content calendar that is, content changes all the time, but I think there's some givens that happen every single year and every single month. So that's sort of what I've been focusing on first. And so as I'm looking ahead in March, we're looking at things like, I have like an agricultural exemption from the assessor's office. That deadline is April 15th. So I'd like to start pushing that like in early March and just follow up on that. We have, elections coming up in May. And so talking about voter registration as we get into later March, early April. Recreation stickers, springtime, people are going to start taking things like that out. So I've been trying to work on just outlining that so we have a very generalized thing when we have any big deadlines, program, registrations happening. I just don't know that I am 100% thorough. I add things every week as we go. There's a couple things I always have questions on, and I'm happy to just email those. But I think part of what I'm hoping today is figuring out a good flow of communication, right? I feel like we ebb and flow in terms of like how much you guys need me or use me, but I'm always here and happy to help. But I'd like to be more consistent on making sure I don't miss some of the information that's coming out of commissioner meetings. There's a lot of moving parts, and I know we're doing the monthly ad. We're doing a monthly newsletter. Sherry and I were laughing about how long yet short the newsletter is. Like it feels like it could be like 50 times longer, but people won't read it. And so I'm thinking we need to bite off these informational chunks into like little more palatable pieces for people. So that's social media, but it might be one long newsletter that references, past newsletters or past posts or past website information that we've put on there, but are just recaps. And so more likely that people will actually read that information, sending out maybe more pointed email blasts for important things like voter registration, or we sent the Fiber Network survey out. And it's nice because then you can track links. So I sent it to Sherry, but I don't think I sent it to everyone. But just as an example, we sent out to about 250 people and we got 88 clicks on the survey. So I'm hoping that translated into more surveys being taken. So things like that we can also measure and see how we're doing. Stacking up is really nice. So on that note, my hope is, if Doug can be a magician on the agenda, is to maybe put me on a standing agenda item next to your guys' board updates, and whether that's right at the beginning or right after. That way I know I'm here. I know I can kind of catch everything that you guys have. But I'm also open to anything that works for you. Would you guys like me to ping you every 2 weeks and say, what's on your mind? Like, what would you like the public to know? Each individually to make sure that I'm catching things, because things happen rapid time. Once a month is not enough, I don't think, for us to reconvene. But I also, I don't want to overburden us with, sometimes that information flow is a burden itself. And so I don't want to do that. I'm trying to strike a happy balance between, I'm obviously, I listen to the commissioner meetings, but sometimes it's only a snippet of what, you guys really want the public to know too, because sometimes meeting agenda items are short and quick, but there's been a lot of work that's been done behind the scenes. So I want to make sure that we are able to paint the full picture and provide that resource for people. So, I guess my question is to you guys, what do you think the most effective way for me to make sure I'm getting the right information, the important topics, covered, what is the best way for me to do
Well,
that?
in my case, I'm not really good at sending you stuff that the county's doing, and I'm going to try and do better. And it's going to be in a form that it's not going to be something that maybe you want to repeat word for word. You may have to rewrite it, is what I'm saying.
That's my job.
But just like today,
Bullet points. Just
bullet point. Oh yeah.
yeah, just bullet points. But
Exactly.
like today, Doug got up here and told us, okay, from tomorrow until the 11th is the time to sign up if you want to run for office.
Yep.
Big one. That should be a big one. It should be in the newsletter, that kind of stuff. And then if you have questions about trash or whatever it is, and you don't know for sure, send one of us or all of us that
Okay.
text, and whoever answers, will get it, or you can use all three or combine. I guess just ask me if you need more information. I'll try and do the best.
I'm trying to also make your guys' lives easier. You guys have a lot going on. Would it be more helpful for me to send a recap after, each meeting, like once a week, of like what I caught, what I think are the big topics, and then say, does this jive with what you think? Ask a question if there's more. And if I missed anything, then that's an opportunity for you to be like, hey, big ticket item you did not pay attention to. Please cover this as well. So I'm sending you guys the bulk of it. It's a little quicker to review and just to say yes or no, rather than having to go back and think of everything. Would that be more helpful?
Well, and so Mackenzie and I probably talk the most. She'll call and I download. But I always what I wanted to make sure is that I'm not just downloading what I'm working on. I'm always trying to figure out what you guys are working on so that, it's a representation of all three of us. But Mackenzie's also a contractor, so I don't want her out there scratching all the time trying to find stuff, because that's not a good use of her time. And so I think, it's incumbent upon us to help share. I also think that, the ad is great, but it is such a small snippet.
Yep.
What that ad needs to do is send them to our website or send them someplace. And I think
Or send them to
that's
us
a
for more
broken
questions.
link.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think there's a broken link there, because if I get on the website, it doesn't really take me anywhere. If I want to know more about, broadband, it doesn't really take me anywhere on our website.
Right.
We need to integrate more information and make it easy for the public to find stuff. Like the e sign up, the e-new sign up. I don't know if I would know what that was. If it,
News. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just newsletter sign up or something.
and it's
or,
under the commissioner tab.
it's on the homepage now.
I was just looking. I didn't see it on the
I
homepage.
think it's on the homepage. Pretty sure we put it there. Let me see. I think it's to the very far right, if my recollection serves. But it says e-news sign
I
up.
got it.
But we could relabel that easy too.
Well, and hopefully people would understand what that means.
Right. We've also not promoted it a lot. I know today I did send the email blast out. I was sort of waiting because there were some images that the sheriff's office wanted to put out first, and I didn't want to step on their toes. So some cool stuff with the new dispatch center, and they did some awesome, like a video walkthrough and stuff like that. So the newsletter went out today. We've not posted it to our social channel before, but we should. And then the third aspect of that is, I'm looking on the website now, is in the news section on the front page. We need to post that as a news item. And even if it takes you to a link to the web page version of the newsletter, it just puts that in people's minds. And it's like, hey, do you want this in your inbox? Great, sign up. So we've not pushed it very, very hard. So that's something that we're going to be doing more of.
So
But to me, it's like the latest and greatest, and then there's stuff on the other end, like, I don't know, like the redistricting thing that we did for commissioners. Maybe some of that stuff can start going off.
Right. Kind of like taking
Or,
it down.
here's a link if you need information or something like that. But
Yep.
I appreciate the fact that you're watching, you're getting this stuff off of our meetings, and I don't have to send you a bunch of stuff afterwards.
Yep.
Because it's just, but if you get something and you're not sure what to say, you can
Then we
send
can
me a quick one and I'll try and answer it really fast. You may have to retype it because it might not sound right when I'm in a hurry, but
Well, and
Same thing with-
there's other things too that I always ping. Like a good example was, I think it was 2 weeks ago, you guys had a quick item on your agenda about the, I know we talked about it before, the I'm trying to find where it is. The community college,
Junior college.
junior college.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one to.
The program. So then I was like, oh yeah, okay. Well, you guys didn't have anyone that day that needed it, so it was like a quick little like flip thing. And I was like, oh, I gotta look at that program. There's nothing on the website about that program, at least not that I can find, and I'm in that website every day. So I'm like, okay, we got to get something like that on the website. And then I was thinking, how would people even know about it if we didn't talk about it or put it on the website? So I'm trying to catalog these things so I can ask you about them and then we can remedy that. So I do think that a big push is just that integration of making it searchable. And now with the new website, I think we were tentative to put a ton of stuff on the old website because we knew it was going away, and it becomes like a big data transfer that you don't know that it's going to be in the same spot and how to do that. So now that that's there, we'll make sure we're doing lots better website integration. I'm going to make a note for myself so that I don't forget that.
No, and even the newsletter, eventually, I would hope that, we can train people to go to our website for information. Instead of us sending things out, train them to go back to our website to find information.
I was thinking we could put a newsletter archive on the newsletter sign up page so that people can see a sample. Not every single email blast we send out, but the monthly newsletter, like the roundup. And that way they can see what they're getting in their inbox, which I think is nice because you don't want to waste time we all get a lot of emails. So I will add that to the website this week and help that.
Are the department heads and elected officials also reaching out to you if there are?
I mean, sometimes, yes, they do. And I guess the other question came, it's almost like a little bit of a reset again. We've had some successes in terms of, I've had a lot of people order business cards, which has been great. So we're streamlining that, and everyone's business cards are starting to look the same. It's a little thing, but it's aesthetically makes me very happy. So that is great. There is, in terms of social media and getting information out, I think that's probably the big thing. There's an internal system already to get websites updated, to get website updates made, and that works fine. I don't want to mess with that. For social media, I know there was a question, Jeremy and I had kind of gone back and forth about, should departments have better access to the Facebook page to be able to post updates? But you get too many cooks in the kitchen, it starts to get kind of crazy. So we thought no to start. But I created a form, and there's like 2 people in the county that use it. And when they do, it's great. They send a message to me. It's a form that they fill out with their name, the department. They can add media. They can add a date that they need the post scheduled, and it sends it to me. I get pinged, and I can literally just pick it up, reword it a little bit, format the photo if I need to, and pop it on to social media. But I have everything I need to make that post, and they could schedule it a year in advance if they want to. It just puts it on my calendar in front of me, and every day I look to see what's on the calendar and I can post it. So I need to probably resend that link. I think initially we sent that out. Kudos to Kara for using it. It's great, and the posts are awesome because it's stuff that I don't know, but she takes it upon herself also. It's a good example because it's not just new things. Like, she's gone back through some of like the GIS mapping that she's done in the tools, and it's like, hey, we haven't talked about this in a while. Let's put this back out there, which is great. Not every department I know has the time to do that, but if there is, even if they spent a couple hours once a quarter, sending me stuff with a relative date that they wanted something posted or addressed, then that would be super helpful for me. And that helps me with my overall content calendar also, because then I make these things recurring where next year in March or April, I'll know what we posted and to ping them again or get an update and repost so that we're getting the right information out. So I don't know what the best way is to get that to everybody. Should I send that back to you?
Probably.
Okay. I can do that. It's really a nifty form. Works great.
Well, we can help solidify that, we would really like you to use this.
Right.
It's really important that the public hear from us on the positive things that Valley County is doing.
Yep.
And so we need them to engage with that conversation. And it may even go, Doug, what's your call? I mean, should that go to not only elected in division, but maybe deputy chiefs also.
But that's probably not a bad idea.
And it might just be that each department designates someone in their department that can do that. And it might not be the department, it's not the director, it's not the elected official. It's just someone who is in the know that can add a couple hours in their schedule every few months to do that. Or it really takes about 5 minutes to post it. And especially because you guys know the information, to pop that onto a form is really helpful for me because it would take me 30 minutes to go find the information. So that's an easy line of communication if everyone just has a bookmark form or they can send it my way. The other thing I would say about it is not just social media. I have it set up so that if you need an ad designed, if you need a press release, if you need I think I have radio. I have literally anything you could think of, flyers, collateral, whatever it might be, whatever you need, send that form to me with a start of the information and we can get that in the works. So it works not just for social media, but for basically anything other than website updates is what that form works for. So
So do you want us to use them too, these forms?
you're welcome to. Yes. I mean, if there's something really important, everyone's always welcome to email me. Sometimes that's just the easiest thing if you're on the go. But if you have especially something media related, like a photo or a document or something that you want put out there, this form is really helpful just because it helps me kind of classify it and keep track of it. And then it makes a digital record of things that's in your account that I could. In theory, I hope to keep this job, but also I could pass off to somebody else if needed to. So you guys have a record of what we've done. That's not just the Facebook page. It's everything. So that's kind of my goal, is to leave a paper trail, a big paper trail. So
And I tell a lot of people, go through McKinsey.
Yeah.
Don't do anything unless as far as public information, it goes through McKinsey.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm always happy to do that. I've been trying to just keep better tabs. I went through the website. We've gone through the website multiple times with the new thing, but just kind of looking. I have sort of a list from every department of major programs, major things I think might be worthy of promotion. And what might help to kick this off is for me, again, to put a little summary together to be hey, this is what I pulled. This is what I think we want to talk about. Yes. What am I missing? And also here's the form if you need it. So I like to try to not make you guys do all the work. I'm happy to help curate some of that also, because when you're in it, also, you don't know what the public needs to know sometimes because you live it every day.
Because I can take something you're going to
That's right.
post here pretty quick and say, can you add just 2 more sentences to that, or
Yep.
the cost, or
Yep.
something, and you can reword it because
Yep.
it's not going to be
And send off.
spiffy, and it's a real quick thing.
Yep, for
Because,
sure.
like you said, we have so many other things that we're trying to keep track of.
Yep.
too.
And it couldn't just be quick, and maybe it's something that isn't even going to be posted today. It's hey, I don't want to forget this. This is coming a month from now, or whatever it might be. Just send it, and then I'll schedule it. I'll put it on my schedule so that I know
Dead links.
when things are happening. So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. In general, we've done a couple press releases. It's been the ad, the newsletter, trying to just get all that stuff realigned. So, what do you guys need from me? I guess that's my other big question is,
brain.
More time, more hours of the day.
I feel
Honestly, in my case, and this is me speaking because I'm kind of old fashioned, so I don't do Facebook. I don't know what is going on, in the dark web, so to speak. And if you find a situation or something is not true, a comment or something that's really racist through Facebook,
Yep.
we need to get something out. If you need something from me or one of the other two,
Okay.
no, that's not the case. Here's the reality.
Yep. Okay.
And I know I'm not asking you to stay on Facebook all day and watch that, but those
I
are the
haven't
kind
seen
of things.
anything recently, but every now and then stuff like that crops up, just misinformation. And I think in general, just as a public entity, we don't delete any comments. You don't do any of that. It's just it's usually a soft redirection to where they can find correct information and see what we can do. So, but I always keep my eye out for that. I'll let you guys know also, what we've got. So I'm here and I'm available. I do more than just social media and websites. I mean, I can do your press releases. I can do, if you guys need any like graphics or creative in that respect, flyers design that go out in mailers or a rack card that's helpful and informational, whatever it might be. So just let me know. I'm here.
Recreation might be something in the future.
That's what I was just gonna say is Larry's got some initiatives that he's thinking about as far as the recreation stuff to try to get some education out there.
Perfect. Well, and just, as we ramp up, as the seasons change, it's like, the waterways again. And I think it's time to like revisit the wake zones. And, it's like still relatively new for people. So just pushing that in each season as we get to the season again. There's a lot of new users in town also. So I don't think it's not bad to go back over things.
Education is going to be
Multiple
important.
times. So,
And Mackenzie, this may sound really kind of silly too, but you get on the webpage and we have a great picture here. To me, this is a summer picture. Can we do a winter picture? Can we do a fall picture? Can we move it around to different
We
parts
sure
of the
can.
valley?
Actually, what this was designed to be, and we started it, and it just didn't know. We had intended that to be a video. We were going to have like a kind of summer fall video, and then a winter spring video. 'Cause, fall and summer look pretty similar. Spring and winter look pretty similar. We have like 2 seasons here. So that was sort of the idea. And it wasn't, it was kind of going to be a snippet of everything, like the river. I think, a still picture of like the courthouse is not that exciting, but a pan of downtown with the courthouse in it, with the river, with, just some of the general area, maybe a little recreation in it. That was sort of the original intent. I don't think we executed it in time to get all this. And it honestly takes a while because you have to wait for seasons. So this season is not the prettiest. For our winter video, we should have probably done it a little deeper in winter. But we could look at doing that for the summer and doing that. But we can easily swap a photo.
Well, I'm saying like if we have pictures of a snowmobile event in McCall or wherever, or a boating event or something, maybe that's the picture of the month that goes on there.
Yep. Or like the ice fishing tournaments that have been going on.
Exactly.
There's a lot of things that we could do. And maybe we just, I can put it on my calendar to try to swap that main photo on the first of each month. And we
Do it
have
as a contest.
photos. We could do that.
Send us your Valley County, photo. I think people think it would be pretty cool to have their picture on the
I
website.
know there's a guy down here, Dan, he's a surveyor, Dunn, that does drone footage, flies around. You may contact him and may have to pay him something to do a drone of all the ice fishermen on the lake
Yep.
over a contest. Or,
Yep.
it's another source that we could check into.
Okay.
And then I think
And done.
every once in a while, I think a press release, like the strategic plan is almost done. We're really close to that. We've been working on it for 2 years now. Doing a press release on our strategic plan and explaining it in depth to the people that are out there. This is what we've done. This is how we're planning for the future. This is what we've implemented. I think would really be helpful. We have the CIP committee now, and we'll be meeting again in March, something really in depth on why we're doing that. The fact that it's going to save the taxpayers in the long run, to do those types of plans. I think that's really critical that people understand, the really in-depth work we're doing on their behalf.
Or the campus planning.
The campus
Yeah, I think the
planning.
campus plan would be awesome.
Because, we have this issue where we're growing out of where we're at.
Yeah.
And
Well-
we have to start asking the public for help. At least they'll know that this was planned and it's not just a last minute.
Yeah.
Can I
And we
say too,
talked-
like our planning and zoning
Yeah.
issues right now, as far as like the contemplation of rewriting our master plan and
Right.
our comp plan and then like hybridizing our zoning system right now is something that we really want to get a lot of public involvement in that process.
Yeah,
And we
letting
talked
them
too
know.
about like the ARPA funds to create a list of things that we
That's
thought
a good
maybe
one, yeah.
we should invest ARPA funds and then do like a survey for the citizens and get on and say, hey, no, I think this should be number
Right.
one, this should be number two, whatever they are.
So this is sort of where I struggle because I listened to you guys chat about that, and then I think you sort of tabled it like, let's come back with a new list, and then so that's where I sort of sometimes am not sure the timing of things, and maybe that's where a quick email once a week to be like, this is what I caught. Like, can you guys update me on timing? What's the next step? When would you like, when do we feel like we've got good public information to put out, or is this still in the formulative phase? That would be helpful for me too. Because I always think I pick up on topics, but I don't necessarily know the timing or the specifics that you want to get out to the public. And sometimes it's not apparent in the meetings also, because a lot of times meetings are recaps, right, of a lot of other things that have been happening in other committee meetings or in departments or things like that. So just want to make
So
sure
how
I'm
about if
getting
we
that.
commit, when we're ready for the public to engage, that we actually give you the information that you need to get that out?
That would be great.
That survey, I mean, ARPA, I think, is on next
You
week.
can do like a
again.
link to vote on this. You can do all that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. We can do
'Cause I
that.
think that, like our ARPA stuff now, we're getting pretty close on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have one more planning meeting, I think.
Yeah, we talked about
Yeah, I can't remember what date we put it on
pretty
there,
quicker, I
but
think.
once we get through one more,
Okay.
then I'll send you the list that I've got.
Okay.
You want to get through the campus meeting here next week.
Yeah.
And then we'll review that up here and kind of maybe take some on or add some off. And then I think we need an option on there that maybe the public has an idea where they think it should be spent.
Right, what that would be. Okay. Okay.
And I think surveys need to be a tool for the future. So maybe figuring out what works the best on getting a survey out. How do we let people know to come take it? I mean, some things may just live on our website, and people
Yeah.
are, you wouldn't have to have an end date or I mean, that broadband survey right now can be out there for quite a long time, and people
Yep.
can just go take it.
But I think, like we heard from Johanna today, talking about people that want to come in or call in to pay their property taxes because they don't have a computer. So we still are going to need something in the newspapers
Yep.
for those old guys like me that maybe that don't have a computer or don't do that.
Well, and that's what I add too. Like if we had a survey, that's an easy little plug to say, go here. How do you access that? Like what is going on? Where do I find this information? Other than just on social media or something like that. So it's nice to have hit all forms of communication. So let's see what other questions I had. I think that's good. I think it would be helpful if, if you guys do have, a major topic that you would like me to keep tabs on too, or if, whether it's the culmination and now we're ready to put this out, that's fine. Or if it's something like, hey, this is coming up, let's track it, make sure that we're getting kind of some staged communications out to keep the public aware of the process also, because some of this stuff is not just the end result. Especially if we want public, input and participation, we would like them to know early on what we're doing, not just toward the end when we're scrambling to get more public input. So, as much information flow as we can get, that'd be great. But I will start emailing you guys once a week with just topics that I have picked up on, and then you can tell me yes or no, and we can sort of start to categorize that and make a workable calendar to move forward. So
One of the things that would be really helpful, and I this is probably just a wish list, but there are things that we touch that we can control, and there's so much. We get so many phone calls or so many messages on, do this. Well, we don't. That's not in our wheelhouse. That's not in our power tower or whatever you want to call it. No, this is who you need to contact
Right.
to, or how a bill works in the legislature. The legislature makes these bills. We don't have the power to make that change.
right,
This is who you need to contact, who's your representative to do that. But
it might
And
be.
I think those are things that we're going to have to do to
education.
that individual person that, that's a legislative function. It's not a county commissioner
But
function.
if you guys start seeing a theme, like if you're all getting emails and calls specifically, about a specific topic, that you're finding is a trend, like let's address it and let's put that information out there, because obviously a lot of people want it. It's sort of a sampling, right? So if something becomes a topic, let's put it out there. I won't know that unless you guys tell me. So if you can just ping me if something becomes, if you start to see 2 or 3 emails come through on the same topic, let's address it and get out in front of it. It might save you guys some email also. So,
Well, and I think if you hear something on Facebook that I don't do,
right.
hey, we
Same thing.
keep getting this back and back and back. You need to make a comment on this, or you know, what's the story behind this, and we can help you out that
Yep.
way.
Okay.
A lot of times it's just, I don't know this is going on.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Lines of communication
Okay.
straightened. Lovely. Okay.
And it's always good to see your face here anyway, so.
Yes. Well, I'm going to stay and listen to your report now.
Perfect.
Okay, we'll move on down our agenda. Our next item is not an action item. This is an update on commissioner boards. And I don't know who wants to go first. Doesn't matter to me.
I was gonna say, I have a huge list. I'm gonna just do a synopsis because there's a lot of crazy things this last couple months. But the Waterways management plan is still moving forward. We had a bill that we paid this morning. So we're like roughly halfway at this point. They are working on right now developing management zones. All of this is gonna be recommendations, but they're developing different areas, you know, kind of like our overlays on our GIS layers, where there's going to be different things happening in different areas that would be set aside for swimming or boating or whatever the specific is for that area. We do have the joint meeting that they wanted to schedule coming up.
In April, right?
Yeah, April 22nd, I believe. And Doug, that's going to be a lot on you, I know, as far as the audiovisual side. So please weigh in and pick the best location. Make it easiest for yourself. They're working right now too on getting kind of the information together for like best management practices. We have a lot of information that came in from the technical advisory group, and they're kind of coalescing all of that into specific issues. So we'll have, you know, whatever it is, phosphorus in the lake. Where is it coming from? How do we treat that? And they're going to give us some pretty specific recommendations. So there's going to be a lot of information in there, and this meeting in April will be a good chance for you guys to kind of get brought up to speed. Winter Rec Forum is the other one that's been kind of a hot topic lately. We have, you know, obviously been dealing with parking lot issues all winter this year, last year. So, you know, thinking about how to better address that. I think the recreation deputies is going to be a huge component on that. I've talked to Stanball a little bit about that also, and he seems pretty interested in pursuing that program, which is, I think, going to be huge for us for a lot of different reasons. The last meeting that we had, we talked a little bit about we're getting so many motorized users up here now. It's such a popular area, and especially with this year being a low snow year, we're getting a lot of incursions into closed areas on the forests. And so trying to figure out how to set up an educational campaign, light bulbs go off over here.
That's what I'm here
You know, and Larry kind of alluded to that this morning. And then also an ask from the county to put some signs up in the county right-of-ways at some of our undeveloped sites, you know, like the Potter Road, Boulder, Patty Flat, those places where we don't have, you know, kiosks or anything like that right now that direct people, A, maybe where to park, and then B, you know, a map that shows, hey, there are some areas in this area that you need to be aware of if you're going to play here, whether it's private property.
great
or,
idea.
Yeah, Forest Service closure.
Where
so,
else can you go? And maybe those are those scan code things if you put it on a sign at all.
yeah, there's lots of different ways to do it. You know, just the research that we did and found out that you can actually access some of those map layers on these popular phone apps that people are using, the mapping apps, was pretty huge, because we were talking about trying to have Kara create some new layers that would pull that in, and then we could send it out to these apps. And there is actually a layer already done, so we're not going to have to recreate the wheel on that. So I think that's something else that we need to address, and we certainly have some things to talk about next week with like the Silver Fox Trail parking. So those are those things. The Groomer Advisory Committee, you know, their big things are they helped with the dog sled race last month, and I think by all accounts that was a really successful event. They seem to still have some staffing challenges. You know, they rely so much on their volunteers for the program that I think they're starting to get sort of, and also for the administrative stuff as well, but I think they're starting to get a lot of volunteers that are sort of aging out of the program. And then, you know,
It's
pace.
happening everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's very common across all the nonprofits and volunteer organizations that I'm affiliated with. But they also, I think they still have some pay issues as far as it's tough to get people in, and Pat's done a great job as far as getting people up to, a standard level. But again, what you said this morning is that our standards don't really reflect the cost of living here anymore, which is unfortunate. So that's kind of a separate issue. One of the things that I did pick up on, I think last week when Brian Oakey was talking about the open meeting laws, is I think a lot of the committees that I work on, we need to really try to get them up to speed on the open meeting laws. I've got Waterways tomorrow morning, so I'm going to talk to them about making their agendas a little more specific. They generally have like a blurb that just says like commissioners update or, Groomer report or whatever it is on the agenda that's pretty vague. So I asked him specifically that question last week, and he said we should really try, all of us, to make an effort to get our committee's agendas a little more specific.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Land allocation committee is actually getting ready to start back up, and that one's been down since the beginning of COVID.
Is that the PLC?
It's the PFC offshoot,
PFC.
so it's the citizens component of the Pay It Forest Coalition, and it's kind of more of a user group.
They meeting in McCall all the time?
They
I'm wondering
were.
if that was the one I was going to once in a while.
Yeah, they were meeting. It was usually in the evenings at the supervisor's office in McCall.
It was just for the pay at forest.
Just for the Pay It Forest. A lot of conversations with that about like the Needle Sea Wilderness area. That was the big topic item for the last 2 years, was what would be acceptable and what is not acceptable with that proposal. Larry mentioned the Trail Coalition group this morning, and it sounds like we're going to probably bring some of that in-house as well. It's been kind of like a hot potato getting passed around for the last couple of years as far as who's going to be responsible for that, the information that we've generated, and then also kind of keeping people moving forward on items that we're working on. Melissa's doing a great job right now as the facilitator. She's done 2 meetings in a row, and she's done a great job. So you guys gave me information for the Stibnite Gold Project, the working group on that. We submitted comments on transportation, recreation, and some of the social economic issues as well. I have no idea what the timeline on that is. The DEIS sounds like it's probably going to be pushed off a little bit further again. They're still compiling a lot of technical information, and that's when I start to zone out, when they start talking about water quality and specific issues that are, high level technical issues. And I think, again, I've talked to Jeff, but we really do need to get ahead of a road maintenance agreement with those guys, or some sort of a development agreement as far as the impacts that they're going to have on the transportation component. Because the Johnson Creek Road, Warm Lake Road, as far as winter use up there, that's going to be some real sticky points. So keeping that.
Even the fact that we have a good road in Warm Lake.
Right.
And, they're going to be bringing some really heavy equipment over that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
you think about
and-
just the construction phase alone, they're talking about very, very large shipments of going in on the Johnson Creek Road, and even just getting it to Johnson Creek Road is going to be a big effort.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I had was, I've been working on some of the solutions for the construction pile and the woody debris pile up at the transfer site. I really feel like we got some good traction going there. There's potential for, like I said, maybe a regional level partnership with the Forest Service and some of the other counties. Come up with more of a biomass product solution. Tamarack Mill is very interested in taking all the material that anybody in the region could generate, keep their cogen facility going, and then also to keep their kilns going. But I did not realize that they have a fairly large cogen facility at that site, and they're looking for some pretty substantial upgrades. They need probably close to like $2 or $3 million in upgrades to bring it up into the modern era. It's an older facility, and it's starting to kind of age out as well. And they, I talked to their facilities person over there, and that might also be a really good opportunity for the Forest Service to partner, whether it would be through, us in Adams County or whoever, but to help get some of that federal money into bringing that facility up to speed.
One of those roundtables at the Western Governors Association talked about that facility and providing funding for that.
It's
So there is.
almost, I don't want to say it's a state of the art, because the tech is getting old, but it's a really, really high efficiency and high functioning facility that we're lucky to have in the area. It'd be good to work with them. And then, like I said, as far as the chipper, whether we're chipping or we truck it over to them, they're happy to take as much of the material as we want to give them.
Dave, do would Tamarack Mill be willing to come over and chip our stuff and haul it if we gave it
I
to
don't
them?
think they have a tub chipper, and I think it's a permanent installation over there.
Was it?
Yeah, so they said that we could either send them chips that we chip ourselves, or we could send them the raw material and they chip it over there. That was the way that they would work.
Don't you feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm off track here, but it seems to me like, or for the Forest Service or the state or us to be able to do it, it's got to be a portable thing that can go out to the woods and grind up those slash piles and the stuff that's left over instead of trying to haul that to one site.
A chipper wouldn't necessarily be something probably that the Forest Service want to bring in some of their funding for, but the facility that's, using it,
Oh, I see.
whether it was going into like energy logs or pellets or something like that, that's more what they're looking for. They're looking for ways to repurpose that material. That cogen facility is probably something that they would be interested in funding or helping fund. They're not going to buy us a new chipper. And I agree with you, though. If we were going to talk about something that we would take into different forests and use, whether it was IDLDF or Forest Service ground to clean up after a logging sale, it would have to be a portable setup. And I don't think that's something that we want to invest in.
No, but there sure is a great opportunity for private industry to come in and do that function.
There is, but that report that we got done in whatever it was, 16, there's just not a lot of money in it.
No.
So the investment that you're talking about to get into it just doesn't really pencil out as far as what you're going to get out of it.
You know what came out of one of those meetings though too was they were working on the small timber and conservation efforts and using those small trees for conservation efforts, and they would be willing to provide sustainable income to somebody that was willing to take those small trees, which is what Idaho, we have a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe working with, on the conservation side of things.
Yeah, that was one of the things I talked to this gal at the Forest Service, the regional office, about, and I don't know what exactly they're looking for. I think a lot of that stuff is more going to be ground up into, like I said, energy products or mulch or whatever else. It's the way to use every bit of what's out there versus having giant piles that you end up burning.
Well, and if you don't mind, Sherry, I'll kind of go next
Right
because it
ahead.
ties into my boards. I'm on the first one is the Roadless Rules Commission, and it's set up by the feds basically to help the state as part of that lawsuit control roadless areas. And the last meeting we had was about December. Could be wrong there. Maybe it was January. But right now, the purpose of it is we look at all the different ideas the Forest Service has throughout the entire state, not just in Valley County, in the roadless areas. And of course, it's supposed to stay roadless, but a lot of their plans basically come down to what they call prescribed fire every year and go into these areas that are too thick, and it's not really merchantable timber. It's kind of the thin, ugly stuff that nobody wants, and burn it. And right now, it's looking like about 500,000 acres a year. And so we've encouraged the Forest Service to look at other alternatives besides burning that. So this portable unit that could go in and maybe everything is drugged to it and it's ground and put in trucks and hauled, to generate electricity, maybe that will encourage that. But I'm just thinking if the public sees 500,000 acres a year burn, that's going to get pretty old pretty fast, and it's not going to be very,
Not good for our
Popular.
environment nor my asthma either.
oh man, a lot of
Right.
people. But it's something that we have to do that's required by federal law that Idaho has to provide this coalition or this commission, and we kind of get to say yay or nay on some of these practices statewide on forest stuff. The health districts, as you guys know, the mask thing is all kind of going away or has gone away. The virus has gone way down. There's still some concerns with the long haulers, what they call long-term folks, that they haven't quite dialed in yet. But there's legislation introduced in the House this last week or so that it could be against the law to mandate masks, which I think is a huge mistake to make because you don't know what kind of diseases could come into your area, and you need to mask up to protect people. But if they get this passed, it would be a voluntary deal, kind of like we are now. And there's another bill that was proposed that would make it illegal for any entity, business or private or government, to mandate masks in their facilities. And so there's been a lot of kickback on the mask mandate, and we are kind of pushing against it as the health districts. There's an executive council, there's a trustee from each 7 districts in Idaho. We have an executive council, and I'm on that as a trustee. And we are the ones that are the political kind of part of health district. And so we do a lot of work with our legislative representatives and trying to discourage or encourage or help promote bills or help defeat bills. And we're kind of getting our butt kicked a little bit this year on it. And then, as you guys know, starting tomorrow, the counties are fully funding the health districts from here on. And the state is kind of out of it. But in the trade with that is the state's going to take over paying our indigent, which is through Medicaid expansion. And so a lot of the indigent stuff that's been coming to the county now is going to go to health and welfare, and all we are is just the people that sign them up. We do the groundwork, the homework, the forms, and make sure they qualify, and then everything is sent to health and welfare, and it comes out of state dollars instead of county. And we can still levy for that indigent account because we know we have renters and other issues. We have cremations that we have to pay for. So we need some funds to stay in that, but most of it will go back into the health districts. Boise Forest Coalition has kind of, I'm not going to say not completely shut down, but it's kind of reached a lull because of lack of people showing up. A lot of the recreation groups have kind of come out and decided to form a little subcommittee of the coalition to push more recreation-based management, more practices, more goals into some of these forest ideas that the Boise Forest wants to do. We tried to push that in the past in different areas, but they never seem to get done through the Forest Service. And so there's a little push that way, but a good majority of the folks have kind of thrown their hands up and said, you know what, this is a waste of time. And so now the goal is to try and bring back membership, get some more people coming back into it and get involved. And I think the coronavirus and the Zoom capabilities have kind of caused that. I think if people could come back together and meet face to face, we get a lot more done, a lot better conversation, and people want to stay involved where a Zoom meeting is too impersonal and people have dropped off. So we're kind of trying to rebuild that one. I just got appointed to the Idaho Association of Counties Unemployment Litigation Fund, something like that. And it basically helps deal with counties that overspend on unemployment costs. You can go to us and request funding to help supplement those unemployment costs. In some counties have big issues with that. We don't, because we have a good HR person and everything is handled really, really well here. And we don't have those issues, but it's not it's only 1 or 2 meetings a year. It's not a lot of commitment. I'm also on another one with IAC. It's called the Natural Resource Litigation Fund. And our lawsuit that we had here a few years ago on Anderson Creek, we probably could have got some of our legal fees reimbursed by that, but it was only $22,000 or $23,000, and we didn't feel like that was big enough to even qualify. There are some counties that have $200,000 or $300,000 litigation bills against folks wanting to do something against the county that would affect all of us if we lost. And so that fund was created. There's about $500,000 in it that we help other counties that are fighting lawsuits that would affect all the counties. And that's pretty neat. It's been, some of the other counties are going through the same issues we go through, and it's a small world, really.
Is that no business? What, it's not Anderson?
Oh, no, yeah, you're right. I always get those mixed up.
I just want to make sure we
Yeah,
had
thank
it
you.
on.
I get those two mixed up in my head all the time, but that was one of them that we could have maybe got some money back on if we had pushed it, but it wasn't a big cost, where some of these are big time litigation funds and they have 3 or 4 attorneys fighting them, helping them. So, what else? The EMS, 9/11, LEPC groups, Local Emergency Planning Committee, all that's going really well. Those are usually pretty quick Zoom meetings, just kind of reconnecting and staying in touch with everybody. I'm interested to see what's going to happen because the fire and EMS have already come out with kind of their impact fee cost, and it's not been well received. And there's been a lot of kickback on it, so I'm not sure where that's going to go yet. We're still trying to float that one up, but a lot of kickback on impact fees. Yeah, we'll just have to play that one by ear when we get into it again. And I think that's coming here pretty quick. I think that's about all I got. Probably think of something later, but
I'll do mine quickly. I had a 3-hour board meeting with YCAP last week to talk about my concerns and some of the other board members' concerns on information that we're receiving. So I've asked for all of their HR policies. I've asked for all of their policies to be looked at, updated, got a lot of information. So for now, I'm going to stay on that YCAP board because it is important for our county. They are getting a bunch of funding in for daycares. And so I'm really hoping that
good.
the Economic Development Council's Darcy LaCroix that's working for the early childhood learning is working with them also. So there is some funding mechanisms that are coming down. So I want to stay close to that. On the EDC, we are struggling to find a new director. Jill Morse Chapman is going to stay on until we find a new director. We've had it posted now for a while. Unfortunately, again, it's about pay. So we also have that housing professional position out. We're not getting any hits on that either. We may have to have a conversation as we move forward. That group, I've been involved with that group since the beginning, and it is really important for our region. Cinda sits on it. There's a lot of really good things that come out of that. We may have to have a conversation about increasing the pay on that thing to try and figure out how we get somebody in to compete on it. So the housing professional funds that we set aside, we're going to have that conversation this time here in March about maybe using some of those to, in a little different way, instead of hiring a person, hiring a firm to try and take the information that's coming out of McCall and take it out to the rest of the region and trying for something regionally. That's the housing conversation needs to happen. So more to follow on that. Fair Board, we just had our Fair Board meeting here. We have another one coming up. I think it's March 11th to discuss facilities down there and a lot of the Fair Board information. So you guys were kind of involved in that already. Our SRS funding, again, could be put off for a little while. We have 3 years secured. And the funding, the verbiage that had to change through legislative mandate, the first year was going to be reduced by 20%. So we would have lost a couple of $100,000 to get those funds right away. So we're fighting for the rest of that 20%. And so that should come around here shortly. Road Advisory is deciding to meet every other month. They've already given us quite a few recommendations, so the next one is in April. And I've just been working on the Strategic Planning Committee, the Campus Planning Committee, and the CIP Committee. So keep them busy on internal committees.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Uh-huh.
You're still seeking a new road advisory board member, correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Do you have any information on that in terms of term, or is there a specific geographic location that you want that person from?
We have a pretty heavy southern presence, so somebody out of the McCall area would be ideal. There are no terms associated with them. It is a volunteer position. You just have to submit a letter of interest, and then they're appointed by the board.
And one other just point of clarification, I have a meeting with, not the Fair Board, but members of the Fair Board group about website updates. Can you clarify, should the website be web pages built into the county, or should it be a standalone website? I wanted to get it straight before we met because I wasn't sure where the funding was coming from. Does the county pay for that? What do we do there?
you know, I
Good
would
question.
guess as much information that would go on that, it probably should be their website. I think that we would probably end up paying for it through their budget.
Okay. Okay.
maybe for a link to ours though.
It
Because
would
if
be linked, I
somebody's,
assume, but I wasn't sure if what we were looking at is building out a handful of pages on the county website or a standalone website that is then linked to.
What do you recommend? Because I would assume it's Extension's gonna have a lot of their stuff on there as
For
well.
searchability, I think it should be standalone. I think it gets buried in the county. But I also, I don't know that it would be any more expensive to do that. The only other expense would be that they would then be looking at like an annual hosting cost that would be, $300 a year,
minimal.
roughly. So,
Actually, I think it would probably help them out, especially when this time of year they could go out and say, hey, time to sign up for steers or open class or, this kind of stuff, or, we're going to do a work session at the fairgrounds. We need everybody to show with a hammer. Or, I don't know. That's,
well, then they would have the ability to edit and make updates on their own and not have to go through like county, like tickets and stuff like that.
I think that would be the best way.
Yeah, I think it needs to remain outside the county one too. I think there needs to be a link there, but.
Okay.
And then as far as paying for them, technically they're supposed to be putting on the fair and rodeo, which would, kind of be their bailiwick too, but, I think they could come and request payment this first time to get it set up. We want a
Sure.
professional,
Yeah.
fair and rodeo, so.
Cool. Just clarifying. Perfect.
Okay, anything else? We got plenty of time, no rush, even though we're running behind.
The only thing I would say is, will you guys keep me updated on what you want for the capital improvement and campus planning committees? I know you guys are meeting, but until there's like decisions or what piece of that, I know it's a lot of discussion right now, but just keep me posted.
And maybe we'll send you a couple of agendas so you can see kind of what we're discussing or something like that. When we get one.
Storming and norming phase right now, so.
Perfect. I know, I kind of figured, but again.
Oh.
Okay. That's all I got.
Hey, we're all good? So I guess the only thing I want to add before we move on to our next agenda item is knowing that Dave is going to pass the torch here. We're trying to figure out what committees we should take over until your replacement is. The Waterways, I'm assuming, is probably top priority. Groomer Advisory. What else do you recommend that we stay on top of until we get your replacement?
Stib night.
Simon?
Huge, yeah.
What about the trails?
I think that's going to pass into the recreation department.
Okay.
That'll be-
Groomer
Stay
Advisory.
where it is. Yep, Groomer Advisory. Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, we can put that on the agenda for like March 21st if you want, or
Well, okay, yeah, that's fine with me. We just gotta make sure that we're covering those until we get a new person in. Okay, then I'm gonna move on down. We're gonna go to our next agenda item, and this is an action item. This is ordinance 22-02, findings of facts and conclusions of law. Cindy, come on up. You sent these to us. I hope everybody got a chance to go through them. This is for the Title 10 subdivision regulations.
And Oki had some recommended changes, just, and I sent those to you earlier today.
His changes.
Yeah.
So the ones that are scratched out, are those his changes or those yours?
The ones
I'm
that I
look-
sent today.
No, I'm looking at the one you sent. Oh, this morning, yeah,
Yes.
okay.
So, condition of approval or conclusion. Well, let me just go through this. So
Sure.
the beginning of this is the introduction. This talks about all the different meetings, who attended, and what happened at that meeting. And then the findings, talk about the proposed ordinance, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation, the notices that were done for all the different hearings, the state statutes that we were looking at, And then talked about other persons in attendance having, and they were expressing both approval and disapproval. But then we get into the conclusions. And these are the ones that we like to pay a lot of attention to. One, the amendment is made in accordance with other provisions of the Valley County Code. Two, the proposed amendment is consistent with the Valley County Comprehensive Plan as presented in the addendum to the staff report on December 6th, 2021, and January 18th, 2022 staff report. That's where we went, through it with a very fine-tooth comb. And then three, the proposed amendment is in accordance with the Idaho state statutes, most particularly 6508, 676511, and 676513. That the amendment is in accordance with Idaho Code 31-714 that allows ordinances and rules to provide for the safety, promote the health and prosperity, improve the peace and good order, comfort and convenience of the county and its inhabitants thereof, and for the protection of property therein. 5, that the plan and subdivision plat review determines, among other things, that the parcel subject to the proposed subdivision has sufficient depth to groundwater to support septic systems, power is available to provide service to future dwellings, road rights-of-ways exist, and roads are constructed to sufficient standard to provide emergency vehicle access to subdivided parcels. And those were a lot of the reasons that we initially adopted the emergency ordinance. Unbuildable parcels are likely to contain illegally installed septic systems or other methods of disposal of human waste and black water, and these unbuildable parcels are also more likely to accumulate construction debris, abandoned or non-running vehicles, or other forms of solid waste, posing an increased threat to the environment and a blight on the surrounding properties. And 7, that there's an increased risk to public health due to degradation of groundwater quality as a result of splitting properties without adequate groundwater analysis or sanitary restrictions for the safe removal of human waste, black water, and solid waste on parcels. 8, that there's more likely to have an accumulation of construction debris, abandoned or non-running vehicles, or other forms of solid waste. It has a negative effect on the welfare of Valley County, negatively impacting the aesthetic and economic value of neighboring properties. 9, the fire-wise mitigation consideration should be made for all division of land due to Valley County being in the wildland-urban interface, and wildfire would be detrimental to all citizens in Valley County. 10, the proposed change is in harmony with the general purpose of Valley County ordinances and policies and will not be otherwise detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare. And the 11 is where one of the first changes is. It originally read that Valley County subdivision processes and fees are not onerous or excessive. And then it goes on to include, and an opportunity to request a variance exists in Valley County code where strict implementation of the subdivision requirements are not justified. So that was an inclusion. 12, the proposed change considers adequately constructed and legal access to be a vital concern when considering public health, safety, and welfare. 13, impact of 20-acre parcels, subdivided parcels, without planning review has resulted in negative impacts and lack of planning as follows. Lack of electricity or power, non-adequate roads, lack of compliance with conflicts with groomed snowmobile trails that contribute to our recreation economy, lack of access so property can reasonably be developed by future landowners, and parcels that are too wet to develop with even a single home so that they become storage for junk.
And on that one, you missed one line that was really important, and that was compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program.
Yes, lack of compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program in regards to the development of base flood elevations. And then 14, this subdivision change does not result in unreasonable impacts on private property rights, but furthers Valley County's ability to reasonably and strategically plan for future growth in the community. 15, the subdivision ordinance exception 5 is no longer a useful planning tool for managing and planning for growth. 16, a subdivision review process enhances the county's ability to work with landowners to educate them concerning noxious weeds and participation in the eradication of noxious weeds. And then 17, Valley County must remain in compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program, and the only way to be aware of splits in the floodplain is to require planning review for any parcel division. And then remove the conclusion that Valley County is diligently working to better define the subdivision processes.
So you took that one off. That would have been number 18.
Yes. So does that adequately summarize the reason for your decisions? Did we
I wish
miss
I
any
would have
points?
added one more, but we didn't have that, so. We didn't discuss it then, but
Oh, we didn't, okay.
I don't want to add it at this moment in time. But the absentee landowners, and we've already had one lady that came in and was screaming that somebody had taken over part of her ground because of fencing and absorbed part of her ground into theirs. The absentee landowner issue is going to become greater and greater with all of these splits, so.
I guess the only one that I'm just had a little hiccup on, and it's not a big issue, I'm not saying we should change it, is number 13, where it talks about the very end, so that they become storage for junk. I think we should have another word besides junk. And I don't know what.
What's the word you used?
I mean, one man's treasure is another man's junk, so to speak. It just doesn't sound professional to me, but I don't know what else you could put there.
Non-working vehicles.
That's an abandoned car issue.
Non-working lawnmowers.
Yeah.
The other
You could say
overcrowding of campers. I mean, there's
There's so many things that go, nuisances for nuisances. Storage for
unsightly junk.
Cast-offs, secondhand goods, unwanted items.
Are you Googling it?
I don't know what to say. So, I mean, it's not that we have to change it today, but that to me felt like we can even redefine what junk is.
I think if you take the S off the front, it's just crap.
Scrap. Scrap might work.
No, scrap is valuable.
So it's junk.
Debris.
Ron, you got an idea?
Unwanted
I like
items.
this deliberative process. I think you guys you're narrowing it down.
Yeah. We'll just stay with junk because I don't want to extend this out any further. I want to get this done today, but
Unwanted items.
we have the ordinance now that it limits you to what, 3 campers per lot?
If you're staying in them all year long.
I think everybody knows what junk means. They'll have their own vision of that,
Okay,
so.
let's just
I
stay
was
with
gonna say, I
junk.
hate to say it, but I think we need to stick with junk for now
Yeah,
too.
junk is okay with me. Can't put refuse because that's like trash. Okay, is there anybody else want to add to this? Any other concerns? I think you spelled it out really well, Cinda.
Okay. So the motion would be to approve the facts and conclusions, findings of fact and conclusions of law before the Valley County Board of Commissioners for amendment to Title 10 Valley County Code and authorize the chairman to sign.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. This was a lot of work.
Yes, it was.
Thought it was really interesting, but that governor's conference talked a lot about how we are, as communities, going to control noxious weeds, control, non-owner occupied properties. So this conversation is happening all over the West, not just in Idaho.
And there's really a lot of stuff in code that talks about noxious weed and what a county can do. We just don't have the funds to do it.
Well, that and, we don't have, this is an awareness.
Yeah.
This, and an
You have
education
to.
piece for landowners.
Yep.
What I like most about this is people are gonna know what they're gonna buy from now on. They're gonna know what they're getting. So they won't be coming after us because we don't plow the road or whatever.
So thank you.
Thank you. That was bada bing, bada boom.
That was a long time.
Yeah, it's only 6 months. That's not bad in the glacial pace of government, right?
Yeah, it should be published. It really isn't. Thursday.
Okay. Hey, anybody else want anything? If not, we're gonna move into an executive session. Anybody else has anything? I'd entertain a motion then, go into executive per Idaho Code Section 42061B.
I'll make a motion, we go into executive code per Idaho Code 742061B.
Second.
Moved and seconded by roll call.
Thing when I
Bob and I.
Asbrook, aye. Doug, we're gonna be in at about 2:25. I need a break first. And this is for personnel and evaluation, just so the public knows. Employee evaluation.